Welcome back to MotionPic Recap. Today we're going to recap the science fiction, action and adventure movie titled, Jupiter Ascending. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. In St. Petersburg in Russia, a man called Maximilian is obsessed with the planet Jupiter, and tells his wife Alexa that they should name their unborn daughter Jupiter. One day, however, burglars break in, and trying to stop them from taking his telescope, Maximilian gets shot, and is killed. Many years later, somewhere in the United States, the immigrant called Jupiter Jones is awakened by her mother early, and is told they've got to go to work. Jupiter works as a cleaner and housekeeper for wealthy people, and often remarks for herself she absolutely hates her life. One day, three strange individuals sees how a bounty hunter walks into a building in the major city where Jupiter lives. The bounty hunter named Kane looks through some papers, and hearing people outside, he powers up his shoes and a shield and runs back out. He's attacked by the three individuals, but skillfully runs around in the air, and manages to escape them. The three attackers remark that must be the Legionnaire. Somewhere else in the galaxy, three siblings called Balaam, Titus and Kalik meet to congratulate each other on the fine harvest of the population of this world. Titus, however, expresses he's jealous that Balaam inherited the finest properties from their parents, planet Earth. Some time later, on a different planet, Kalik tells her trusted servant neither Titus nor Balaam must suspect her involvement, asking him to make the deal with the hunters. In Earth's solar system, Balaam arrives with his ship at Jupiter, and enters the gas giant. Inside, as Lord Balaam lands, his servants tell him their spies have found the print of the girl he wants, and are now trying to find her, remarking they've found her name is Catherine Dunleavy. On Earth, Jupiter walks in on Catherine trying out clothes for a date, remarking she thinks her boyfriend will ask her to marry him. Jupiter goes to fetch a dress, when suddenly Catherine screams. When Jupiter looks back out, she sees strange figures and takes a photo, which they hear. Next, the two wake up, feeling weird. That night, Jupiter asks one of her cousins if she can borrow some money from him, that she'll pay him back, but he tells her he won't lend her any. Later, another of Jupiter's cousins asks her if she's though of his advice, to sell her eggs for $15,000 at this clinic he spoke about. After discussing it a bit more, she agrees on doing it, and starts bidding on a telescope. Next up, a woman calls for a Catherine at the clinic, and Jupiter gets up, having used her friend's name as a pseudonym. But as they begin the procedure, the doctors start strapping tech to her and she floats up, making her worried. One doctor says her genprint is verified, and another doctor orders the others to kill her. Suddenly the bounty hunter Kane appears shooting them, and all the doctors transform into aliens. Having killed them, the Kane frees Jupiter and brings her down. Somewhere else, Titus is told Kane has got the girl. 12 hours later, Jupiter wakes up, picking up a gun beside her, and Kane tells her he thought she'd feel safer with it. She begins asking questions about what happened to her and who he is. Kane explains Earth is not the only inhabited planet in the galaxy, and that he was assigned to save her from people that wants her dead. After have conversed and Kane has calmed Jupiter down, he tells her they've got to leave before more assassins are sent. Inside the planet Jupiter, Balaam is told that their assassination was unsuccessful, and Balaam screams angry he wants every ship close to Earth destroyed. As Kane takes Jupiter and jumps out the window with his elevating boots to get to his ship, it is suddenly destroyed. Kane grabs Jupiter after having dropped her, and tries his best to avoid ships trying to kill them. He runs around in the city, trying to escape them. Suddenly he manages to jump onto one of the ships, and moments later, the two have thrown out the alien and have managed to get into the ship. After having destroyed all but one ship, the one they're in suddenly gets cut in half as they destroy the last. As they're driving away from the city, Kane explains to the confused Jupiter that they might have stumbled into a war within the Abrasax family, which is one of the most powerful dynasties in the universe, and that he himself was sent by a member called Titus to find her. She asks how they'll get away with shooting down a whole city, and Kane explains it will be rebuilt by tonight, and that people will be blank so they don't remember. He adds she must be special if Balaam Abrasax wants her dead. Somewhere else, Balaam asks his servant how a single soldier could get away from their fleet, saying next time he'll hold him accountable. Next, Kane and Jupiter arrive at a farm, where they meet a man called Stinger, who was once a marshal in a space force called Aegis. He and Kane start fighting as they see each other, blaming each other for having lost their jobs at Aegis, but then suddenly stop as they see Jupiter being surrounded by bees that follow her every movement, and Stinger kneels down calling her Majesty. Later, Stinger helps heal Kane's wounds, after which he begins answering Jupiter's questions, explaining for her that bees don't lie, that they can feel royalty. Stinger talks to Aegis Command, and remarks Balaam has ordered a blockade, that nothing gets on or off the planet, but that Aegis command has said that if Jupiter's genprint is verified, an injunction will come get them. Kane remarks they need firepower. After having grabbed a gun, Kane hears something outside. Inside, Stinger explains humans actually first evolved on a planet called Orus, a little over 1 billion years ago. To seed planet Earth, the Abrasax family had to manufacture a large-scale extinction event to kill off the dinosaurs. After having planted humans on Earth, they've tried to make the population grow. Once the population has reached its peak number, it is ripe for harvest. Suddenly Kane appears saying they're here. While Stinger and Jupiter run out to get away, Kane stays in the house and begin fighting invaders. Outside the house, Stinger is suddenly shot down by a man, and bees come swarming to protect Jupiter. Jupiter runs into a field, chased by aliens. Suddenly, she is also shot down by the guy with the energy wave gun. But as aliens come up to her, they and the guy with the energy gun are suddenly killed. As Kane come out of the house, he sees how Jupiter is being taken and brought off the planet. At the last second, he manages to get on the ship. Inside planet Jupiter, Balaam tells his servant he wants them to be ready for an early harvest of Earth, and the servant remarks it's going to be one of the finest yet. Somewhere else, Kane jumps off the ship as they arrive to a distant planet. As the hunters have landed, they're paid in high-value goods in exchange for Jupiter, who they all now call Her Majesty. Next, she wakes up in new clothes, and takes a look around. Suddenly, Kalik appears, remarking it's astonishing to see her, and starts explaining she looks just like her deceased mother. Jupiter doesn't understand, and so Kalik explains that when the exact genes reappear in the exact same order, they consider it reincarnation. Kalik explains her family are humans, just like her, but that their technology and knowledge is much more advanced. She herself is just over 14,000 years old, and can continue to live forever using a product that their family manufactures. Her mother became over 100,000 years old, but was murdered. She leads Jupiter to a new room, where she shows Jupiter how it all works, explaining genes have an expiration date which makes the cells grow old, but that it was found long ago that you can replace deteriorating cells with new ones, just like changing a light bulb. Somewhere else, Kane is trying to find Jupiter, but is caught and starts fighting with the guards. Jupiter asks why she was taken there, and Kalik explains that when a resurrection occurs, the person with the same genes as the deceased person can lay claim to the deceased person's previously owned properties. Kalik tells Jupiter that since she has her mother's genes, she can lay claim on her mother's title and retake the ownership of Earth. Suddenly, Kane appears, as well as Kalik's guards. Kalik stops them all, saying they can lay down their weapons, that she just wanted to help her mother's reincarnation, Jupiter Abrasax, to escape Earth and get her title back. They tell Jupiter they've contacted Aegis police force to assist in getting her title back. Next, they're picked up by Aegis, and introduced to the crew of the ship. Everyone calls Her Majesty, and she asks them please to just call her Jupiter. Not long after, they arrive to the place Aegis humbly call home. Meanwhile, Balaam gets rid of his previous servant in charge of killing Jupiter, to assign the task to a new one. Jupiter is told all these bureaucrats are a real pain in the ass, and next up, Jupiter is going through a long complicated process to get her title. Getting tired of running around, they eventually bribe a bureaucrat to finish the process. Jupiter gets a signature tattoo in her forearm as her identification and confirmation of her title. Returning to the ship, Jupiter reveals to Kane that she likes it when he calls Her Majesty, asking if there's any part of him that wants to bite her. Kane says he maybe wants that, but then suddenly Stinger appears with soldiers, taking over the ship. Next, they're arriving at Titus's humble home, and as Titus welcomes her, she remarks that, since she got her title, according to law, he has to do everything she wants to do, demanding she wants to go back to Earth, and he replies they'll set course right away. Meanwhile, Kane asks what is happening to Jupiter, and is told it's not his concern, all while being put in a cell. That evening, Jupiter has dinner with Titus, and questions his motives of bringing her there, saying Kalik warned her he would try to prevent her from claiming her title. Titus explains his sister is lying, that Kalik herself had the selfish motive of making sure she got the title so that her competition Balaam would lose a substantial portion of his wealth, remarking he himself doesn't have such interest no longer. He shows Jupiter the products his family produce, what they call nectar, and which is a gene solution made out of humans. He explains one unit is refined from 100 people, and that there are thousands of planets with humans they grow people on. She gets shocked, and accidentally drops it. He explains his mother had began working to stop the industry of harvesting people for profit, but was murdered. Now he has taken on his mother's work, but to ensure the planets he owned does not fall into his siblings' names, he needs to marry her, asking for her hand. Next, Kane is brought out of his cell, and Titus tells him he is no longer needed, and is forced into an airlock. Kane remarks he won't be able to kill Jupiter to get Earth, and Titus replies he knows, which is why he intends to marry her. Kane manages to bring some emergency spacesuits with him, and breaks the handcuffs with his shoes. He puts on a suit, hearing it contains 37 minutes of air, all while seeing the ship disappearing. On Earth, Jupiter's whole family is angry at her cousin for having persuaded Jupiter to sell her eggs for money. Suddenly, however, Balaam's reptile servants appear, taking them all. Somewhere in space, Kane's air is running out, just as someone appears. Next, Aegis is giving him oxygen as he tries to tell them Titus will kill Jupiter. Meanwhile, Jupiter asks Titus to speak to Kane. Titus explains it's no longer possible since Kane attacked his guard and that he was forced to turn him over to the authorities. He remarks he understands as she doesn't want to marry him, that he won't force her, but that it would have secured the safety of all his subjects. As he's about to leave, she says she'll do it. Kane opens a door to a cell, telling Stinger he needs his help, asking what happened. Stinger explains they threatened to kill his daughter, and Kane understands, telling Aegis he's good. Somewhere, Jupiter is about to marry Titus, being taken to the front of the church. Kane and Stinger prepares to take off in smaller ships as they find Titus's ship. Titus is informed of it, and orders to initiate warhammers. Kane and Stinger start attacking and begin trying to break through the defenses. Inside, the wedding procedure continues and Titus receives the signifying bond on his finger. Outside, Stinger and Kane are struggling to get past the immense wall of warhammers, and suddenly manages to get past it. Jupiter is asked to place her hand to get the signifying bond, but then an explosion is heard. Titus tries to force Jupiter to bond, but then a ship crashes into the ship's wall, and Kane comes flying. Kane asks if the ring was executed, which it wasn't, and Kane explains Titus told him he was going to murder her as soon as they had wed, asking permission to kill him. Jupiter just says she wants to get out of there. Next, Jupiter tells Kane that she's made so that he and Stinger can work at Aegis again, saying she just want to go home. As they get back to Earth, they see Balaam's servant Mr. Knight in there, who says they can only hope Jupiter's family is unharmed, and Jupiter walks up and hits him hard. They say she must come and meet with Balaam and abdicate her title if she wants to see her family again, but even after being warned by Aegis she won't have any protection without her title. She remarks she can't leave her family. Next, she's taken to Balaam's place inside the planet Jupiter, and the others follow them. Suddenly, however, they close the gate on the others, and they have to return out into space quickly to not be destroyed by the planet's megastorm, and Kane and the whole crew all get upset. Not long after, Jupiter meets Balaam, demanding to see her family. Balaam starts explaining how his mother taught him about the industry his siblings are profiting off of, and how some lives will always matter more than others. Jupiter asks if that was the reason he killed his mother, and Balaam starts tripping. Outside the planet, Stinger holds a motivating speech, persuading Kane to go down there and help Jupiter. Balaam tells Jupiter to abdicate her title, or else her family will be killed, and she begs him in frustration not to harm her mother, saying she'll do it. Meanwhile, Kane goes into a small ship, and determined flies straight into the planet. His ship starts breaking apart, and just barely reaches the inner city. As Jupiter begins signing her abdication, she asks what will happen to Earth, but is told by Balaam that's not her concern. She stops, saying she'll make sure that whatever he does to her and her family, he won't be able to do to anyone else. He gets furious again, but then his servants come running, saying the grav hull is ruptured and the gas starts reacting to the structures. Suddenly Kane makes an entry and attacks the reptiles. Balaam attacks Jupiter, but she hits him back rather badly, after which Kane creates an opening in the floor and catches Jupiter as she falls through. He tells her to save her family, and she kisses him in case they don't get another chance. Kane continues fighting the reptiles while Jupiter brings her family out. Aegis suddenly sees how ships are evacuating, and they decide to go in. Balaam attacks Jupiter, and she shoots him back. Suddenly gas causes the building to explode, which in turn causes debris to fall and destroy the floor, and both Balaam and Jupiter fall in. Kane continue fighting, having problems. Balaam and Jupiter suddenly manages to grab onto a damaged bridge, and the two get out of there and walk separate ways. Suddenly Kane manages to trick the reptile, and kills him by trapping him in the floor. Aegis suddenly gets a message from Kane, saying that he's got Jupiter's family, asking if they are close to he can get them on the ship. Suddenly Jupiter runs into Balaam again, who starts hitting her. Kane loads Jupiter's whole family into the ship, after which he asks Aegis to wait for him, saying he'll go and find Jupiter. Balaam asks Jupiter as if it's his mother, if she remembers how they began fighting just like this. Without replying, Jupiter begins countering his attacks, hitting him back, all while he tries to ask if she remembers what she said when they fought like this a long time ago. He looks up and says he remembers her saying she hated her life and begged him to kill her. Jupiter says she's not his damn mother, just as the structure gives in, and Balaam falls off to his death. Jupiter falls off too, but is caught by Kane, who saves her and gives her a space suit. The captain on the Aegis ship remarks she promised Kane every second she could, but that they can't stay and must set the portal now. Kane and Jupiter sees the portal being set up, and Kane begins giving everything he's got to get to the ship. Stinger exclaims "Come on Kane," and Kane makes his last attempts to get to the ship in time. The Aegis ship makes it out from the planet, and pops up outside Earth. Suddenly an Aegis officer says she's picking up Kane, and moments later, they all hear Kane's voice, asking them to open the door or something. Jupiter happily takes a look at the astonishing view of the famous blue and green planet. Next, Jupiter's mother wakes up to the morning alarm, yelling to Jupiter to get up. Suddenly Jupiter happily arrives with coffee, and her mother is surprised. Jupiter feels happy at her work, and surprises her mother by working hard. Not long after, her family surprises her back, giving her what she's dreamed of for a long time. She's very glad, and thanks them all very much. Next up, Kane tells her he was a pilot of sorts for Aegis, showing his wings he's gotten back, thanks to her. She says it's not bad, telling him to watch this and jumps off of the building, and the two start having fun flying around high above the city. The end. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and hit the like button to help us out. Until next time, take care.